Thank you for joining us at the Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan 2050 Energy Saving and Green Buildings webinar, co-organized by Invest Hong Kong and Business Environment Council, or BEC. I'm Denise from BEC's Policy and Research team and your host today. This is the third and the last webinar in the BEC and Invest Hong Kong Leadership Forum series this year. Please stay tuned for our future webinars. Now, for a few housekeeping rules, today's seminar will be recorded, so please feel free to revisit the content when the webinar is later uploaded to BEC's website and YouTube channel. Participants are all muted by default. If you have any questions or comments for our speakers, please use the Q&A or chat functions at the bottom of your screen, and we will address them at the panel discussion. Without further ado, may I please invite Mr. Adam Khoo, Chief Executive Officer of BEC, to give us his opening remarks. Adam, please.
KS, Charles, distinguished speakers and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to another BEC webinar event. This is the third and last webinar BEC is co-organizing with Invest Hong Kong this year under the Leadership Forum series. We are grateful for Invest Hong Kong's support to make this meaningful program happen. The Hong Kong SAR government rolled out the Climate Action Plan 2050 in early October, just before COP26, with the goal to make Hong Kong carbon neutral by 2050, and with a midterm target of reducing total carbon emissions by 50% before 2035 from 2005 levels. Such ambition requires collaborative effort from all sectors of society, and the business sector must play a leading role and stay at the forefront in the transition of Hong Kong to a net zero economy. The government's comprehensive climate plan comprises a four-pronged decarbonization strategy: net zero electricity generation, energy saving and green buildings, green transport, and waste reduction. All four areas embody complex issues to address, and strong efforts in all of them are needed for the plan to have any chance of succeeding. Today's discussion is focused on energy savings and green buildings. As buildings account for 60% of carbon emissions in Hong Kong, this is clearly a priority sector to focus on. The Hong Kong SAR government's long-term goal for this area is to reduce electricity consumption of commercial buildings by 30 to 40% and residential buildings by 20 to 30% by 2050. To achieve these objectives, innovation and technology will have a key role to play. We will learn from our expert speakers today about district cooling, energy demand management, digitization, and other applications that will reduce building energy use, enhance efficiency, and accelerate decarbonization. So thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to support us today. Enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
Adam, may I also invite Mr. Charles Ng, Associate Director General of Investment Promotion, Invest Hong Kong, for a welcoming note. Mr. Ng, please.
Thank you, Wong, Adam, Raymond, distinguished guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and good morning for those of you who are joining us from overseas. I'm very excited to join you today, this afternoon, at this very important webinar focused on energy savings and green buildings as part of Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan 2050. Fighting climate change and achieving carbon neutrality is not only one of the hottest global topics in discussion in Hong Kong, but is also part of Hong Kong's commitment. Our chief executive announced her pledge last year for Hong Kong to achieve carbon neutrality before 2050. Our country is committed to achieving peak carbon dioxide emissions before 2030 and carbon neutrality before 2060. Over the last decade, the Hong Kong SAR government has allocated more than 47 billion Hong Kong dollars to various carbon reduction measures. And in the next 15 to 20 years, the government will be investing more, some $240 billion Hong Kong to support a series of actions and to combat climate change. More actions developing renewable energy, managing energy demand, including enhancing energy efficiency and conservation in both new and existing buildings, decarbonization of vehicle to zero vehicle emissions and energy saving measures across the board and across industries in our city is in the plans. In October, the government released the Hong Kong Climate Action Plan 2050 that laid more aggressive targets, plans and actions to reduce carbon emissions. And this important webinar this afternoon focused on the energy savings and green buildings, one of the 4 major decarbonization strategies outlined in the plan. And this could not have come at a better time. I look forward to the insights shared by our industry champions and experts gathered here today. As we all know, building accounts to about 90% of Hong Kong's total electricity consumption, and over 60% of our carbon emission is attributed to generating electricity for our buildings. To achieve net zero, the government will vigorously promote energy savings and green building measures with the aim to reduce the electricity consumption of local commercial buildings by 30 to 40%, and that of residential buildings from 20 to 30% from 2015 to by 2050. Regarding the government measures, you will hear shortly the details and measures of the Hong Kong's energy savings from Secretary for Environment, Mr. K.S. Wong, who will deliver a keynote speech later on. As a leading international financial center and an innovation technology hub, Hong Kong will capitalize on the opportunities to develop the city into a leading green financial center and a new hub of smart and green technology. At Invest Hong Kong, the department of the Hong Kong SCR government that helps mainland and overseas companies to set up here, we will play a part in attracting best of breed companies to help meet the challenges and seize opportunities of energy saving and green buildings here in Hong Kong and in the region more widely. And at the same time, adding economic benefit and job creation. My colleagues and I at Invest Hong Kong look forward to working closely with our colleagues in the Environment Bureau and all key stakeholders in the industry to promote Hong Kong as an important platform for net zero. We hope to attract and facilitate innovative companies in the area of sustainability, green technology, green finance, to capture business growth opportunities in our city, in the Greater Bay Area and beyond via the setup of an entity in Hong Kong. We look forward to working in concerted efforts from different stakeholders and with the stakeholders. And today's webinar with so many leading practitioners is a great opportunity to share your views about the implementation and unique characteristics when it comes to energy saving and green buildings in Hong Kong. So thank you for joining us. I certainly look forward to an informative and thought-provoking discussion. I wish you all a very fruitful discussion and engagement this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ng. And again, we would like to express our gratitude to Invest Hong Kong as the co-organizer of this webinar series. We would also like to thank the Hong Kong PropTech Association, the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, Hong Kong branch, and the Hong Kong Green Building Council as supporting organizations of this event. To kickstart the webinar, please welcome Dr. Vincent Chan, Director of Building Sustainability Group, ERUP, to share with us his experiences on how to decarbonize Hong Kong with district cooling applications. Dr. Chan, please.
Good afternoon, yes, everyone. It's indeed my pleasure today to share our experience on district cooling, in particular application in Hong Kong. First of all, I'd like to thank Invest Hong Kong and also BEC for inviting me here to share my experience. I'll use the next few minutes to give you some update, and more importantly, what will be the further kind of development on enhancing the district cooling system. I think more importantly that see if there's any opportunity for people to invest in this particular green infrastructures. As we know that here in Hong Kong that KS already have us to develop this very good kind of climate action plan, and then we actually work as a team, entire society and also our professional circles to work together to arrive that end. I mean that the end is how we can save the energy on our commercial buildings and also our residential buildings, and that areas. But we have to look at the fundamentals that previous speaker so mentioned, that here in Hong Kong, our challenge is as simple as this, but it's also very challenging. We have to tackle most importantly on the buildings, how we can actually reduce that carbon footprint of building in particular. It's our number one challenge. So why DCS? We know energy use in air conditioning account for around 30% of buildings, in particular commercial buildings. And overall, if you consider the whole total, energy use, that it's actually account around 20%. So they actually provide a very good insights on how or where we could deal with the problem. So other than make our city buildable by eliminating this kind of heat rejection units, more importantly, that is also an area, the key areas that we could possibly resolve some of the problem. So district cooling, it's not definitely news. Essentially, all our major cluster developments of for example, the Sunspa or others, they use a similar kind of concept. But effectively, that we produce kind of a centralized chill water from a central chiller plant that will then distribute those chill water to individual building where they use for cooling or other applications. The merit of this DCS is firstly that it help to optimize the kind of diversity of the building use. So in principle, if different building use AC in different instance, it can actually help to show off the peak of the cooling demand. But more importantly, that that if you connect this building together, you have the kind of advantages of economic of scales. So these two kind of benefits help a lot, not only bring down the energy, more importantly, to bring down the investment on our cooling system. So if the building actually install this district cooling system, it can the plant will be as simple as what's shown on the right hand side of the slide. There's some study on kind of potential saving that this is what we get from EMSC, that the DCS can save as much as 20% as compared with water cool, and as high as 25% as compared with air cool kind of air conditioning system. Separately, other organizations also have conduct independent kind of study, and that saving for some instance can be as high as 43%. So if you use those numbers and multiply that by a total kind of saving using of our energy on air conditioning, you can see the kind of possible saving using DCS can be as high as 9 to 10% of our overall energy for buildings. As I said, the DCS is not new. In fact, it's been applied in many countries. This diagram so kind of global kind of experience. You can see in mainland China, in Singapore in particular, and also in Middle East and Japan, they have already used this kind of centralized district cooling system for many years. What's different is that the kind of heat rejection methods are different. Here in Hong Kong, the district cooling applied in Kai Tak in particular, we use direct seawater cool to actually help enhance the energy efficiency further as compared with other systems. Let's give you some background of this first kind of pilot district cooling system used in Hong Kong in Kai Tak development. Actually, it started some 20 years ago. Then when we have the, we relocate our Kai Tak airports and then kind of major kind of redevelopment. And from then, we actually plan how or where or what actually can be enhance the energy efficiency. So then we study the kind of feasibility on the cost, regulatory, and other environmental issues, and come up with some solution on district cooling applications. But other than that, we have to resolve other, of course, the tariff and other ordinance issues that also need to be resolved. Last but not least, that we need to also work out the kind of procurement methods and come up of using DBO kind of options as kind of our ultimate kind of implementation methodologies. So The figure on the right actually shows the location of the plant that's been built. We actually have built two plants called North Plant and South Plant that generate kind of a chill water to provide kind of chill water for different areas using loop, which highlight in the blue line. Other than this two plant, and recently we are now under construction of additional the third plant in order to meet the additional kind of the cooling demand in the area. I'll use this video clips to illustrate this system. It serves a lot of development here that over 1 million square meters of AC space, and provide chill water by these three cooling plant, and we use the seawater, as I said, for direct heat rejection that provide cooling of 135,000 cooling tons. Actually, when completed, will be one of the biggest using direct seawater cooling system in the world. That actually connected by this quite extensive kind of pipeworks to provide chill water to different kind of applications in the development areas. So that in fact, collectively actually provide a lot of benefits other than energy efficiency. We sort of environmental problems or environmental benefits on, for example, enhancing the seawater qualities, and also reduce or eliminate the use of the rooftop by replacing the equipment with other greenery sources. So these are kind of benefits that can provide in additional to the energy saving. But going back to the energy efficiency, I mean, one of the two key kind of saving that can generate is through these two methods. One is called seawater cooling, direct seawater cooling. A little bit of science, and you can see that because basically the seawater is cooler than the way, the condensing water used by cooling towers. So that actually provides the kind of efficiency as shown in that direction. But that, of course, have other challenges, of course, that need to be solved, including to plan and provide the kind of seawater to the plant. It's also kind of challenging. So other than these heat rejection methods, we also use mega scale, quite biggest, one of the biggest kind of chiller, VSD chiller in Hong Kong and not in the world. 5,000 cooling ton of chillers is one biggest industrial grade kind of chiller that provide the kind of efficiency, highest efficiency that can provide by the cooling system. So with a variable speed kind of driver that actually provide the kind of highest kind of possible energy efficiency that can be achievable through the air conditioning system. So beyond that, actually, we also study other possible kind of improvement on that. Of course, nowadays that the digital kind of transformation have a lot on monitoring the performance of the operation system. The next kind of plan, the third plan actually will use more kind of a sophisticated digital system to help improve the system efficiency further. Because we also study if we could apply, combined heat and power system to enhance its thermal power efficiency further, with introducing probably other alternative clean energy that can enhance further kind of energy efficiency. So these and so on and so forth help a lot to improve further on the thermal efficiency of the district system on energy saving. We have done a kind of detailed estimation calculations that come up with these figures that this three plants in total can actually help annually 138 million kilowatt hour of electricity and 90,000 kind of ton of carbon reductions. But more importantly, that these projects actually have nailed down the kind of institutional frameworks and technical solutions that help to wide adoption for the district cooling system in Hong Kong. We know that we are not at that Kai Tak district, and that's DCS in fact is one of our key green energy efficiency initiatives. So other than the Kai Tak, that there are three actually kind of district cooling are now either under planning or under construction or design, including the Pudong, in Pudong, in Shui Kiu, and also in Dongchong. So together that actually will provide even bigger kind of saving in our energy consumptions. So that provide another bigger kind of pictures on the plan. So according to our information that we also have other facility that we use district cooling system including the loop and also the cross-border facility, and of course the future Lantau metropolis kind of artificial island may also be incorporated that. But more importantly, other than plan this, we have to work out kind of how we can deliver and more importantly to implement this in the most efficient way to capitalize the experience from different sectors, including our design professional and also from finance sector. It's kind of a next area, next stage of areas that needs to develop in further. These actually some of the details of the Lok Ma Chau loop, and that's not administered by EMSC, but that's also one of the kind of biggest district cooling system. So overall, that these I think new development areas can help to reduce the carbon that been used on our air conditioning system, and more importantly, that can also be a kind of projects that we can implement and try the new technology for our coming years. So quickly in conclusions, that that the DCS is actually an energy efficient system, can reduce our footprint of building up to 30%. But more importantly, that we can have more kind of room for improvement by incorporating some smart and also our renewable energy kind of technologies in that. Lastly, but not least, is that it can provide a kind of green investment opportunities for local and also overseas investors to participate. So with that, I finish my part of presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. Up next, we have Mr. Jim Taylor, Senior Director of Planning and Development, CLP Power Limited, who will share with us CLP's Climate Vision 2050 and how it supports a sustainable future for the built environment. Mr. Taylor, please.
Well, first of all, Secretary Wong, distinguished guests from InvestHK and BEC colleagues, thank you very much indeed for the invitation to talk about CLP's climate vision, supporting a sustainable future for the built environment this afternoon. So I want to focus on three core principles in talking to you this afternoon. Reducing energy use in buildings. Look at replacing any higher carbon end use applications and using a lower carbon electricity supply. And offset for those remaining carbon emissions, supporting local regeneration through offsetting. So they're the three themes I want to focus on: reduce, replace, and offset. Starting with reduce. Energy use in buildings in Hong Kong. Building use matters. The easiest way to reduce carbon emissions is to use less energy in buildings. Now, energy use in residential and commercial buildings is increasingly important, with the latest figures from EMSD showing around 2/3 of all energy used in Hong Kong is in residential and commercial buildings. Now, that's gone up progressively as Hong Kong's seen some changes in its economy over the last 20 or 30 years. But some good news is technology is actually helping us to increase energy efficiency. So according to the EMSD figures, electricity used to provide lighting fell by almost 18% over the last 10 years. And electricity used to provide refrigeration fell by more than 50% over the same period. So technology is key, but also behavioral change is really important. And I'm standing today in a lecture theatre from BEC, which is probably amongst the best practice buildings in Hong Kong for behavioral change and for energy efficiency. So that's an important element to note too. Now, another element of reducing is to see if we can actually take some practical steps to reduce the energy consumption in our buildings. So under the scheme of control, which we are regulated under by the Hong Kong government, we can help customers to achieve significant savings. And under the new scheme of control that came in October 2018, we offer a range of schemes. Now, these include interest-free financing for suitable energy saving projects, free detailed walkthrough energy audits for buildings and for the identification of energy management opportunities. And we've done about 1,500 so far, and the saving has been more than 120 gigawatt hours. But we also offer subsidies for practical projects which can actually help energy saving. So in building services, the installation, for example, of retrofitting projects, retro commissioning, or the implementation of smart technologies. And again, we've covered more than 1,500 buildings in the last 2 and a bit years with a saving of about 110 gigawatt hours. And last but not least, for SMEs, and I know many BEC members are SMEs, there are subsidies for SME business customers to install or upgrade energy efficient lighting or air conditioning specifically. And we've done more than 4,300 projects already, saving around 40 gigawatt hours per annum. So basically for BEC members, for colleagues, there is free money on offer. Please come and talk to us and take up the opportunity via interest-free loans or for practical help to help you achieve those energy saving reductions in the buildings in Hong Kong, which are important. Last but not least, we also help customers reduce their demand at peak times. We have 2 schemes for commercial buildings, automatic demand response and bilateral demand response, which would enable us to work with you to reduce the system demand at peak times. And that makes our overall energy system much more efficient. Let's move on to the second of the 3 core principles I want to talk about, which is replace. Now, each fuel that comes into a building will come in labeled with a particular carbon content, be it oil, be it gas, or be it electricity. But actually looking at your carbon emissions means not just looking at the label or the carbon content for the fuel as it enters the building, but actually the efficiency with which it is turned into useful energy. So 3 quick examples. Induction cooking, which as the EMSD figures show, has moved ahead strongly in Hong Kong in the last few years, actually puts almost all of that input energy from the electricity into the food, not into the wider kitchen. Electric heat pumps are more than 100% efficient. I'm not an engineer, it sounds like Harry Potter School of Energy Efficiency, but it is more than 100% efficient. So they are really good at taking free energy from the atmosphere, at heating the water that a building needs. And last but not least, another sector, transport sector, electric motors in EVs are far more efficient at turning input energy into motion than internal combustion engines. So my advice is to take that more holistic view from an environmental perspective when setting energy targets for buildings. Make sure that you allow for changes in energy use to get the most out of the carbon emissions that you're actually going to create. Another element in replace is generating your own RE. Now, not every building has the space, but if you have, and you can install your own RE generation in CLP's supply area, we will purchase the PV or wind energy that you generate. And the response to the feed-in tariff scheme, thanks to support from the government, has been very strong indeed. Despite the limitations in space we have in Hong Kong, we now have over 239 megawatts of RE projects either approved or connected to the grid as at the end of the last quarter. Now that is a very significant achievement from basically a standing start in Hong Kong. You can see on the slide that that represents around 50,000 household supplies on average and something like 4 million trees in terms of the carbon dioxide saved. So we have it in village houses, we have it in commercial buildings, we have it in infrastructure projects. So Please, if you have any more applications, get them in. We want to see those keep flowing through to CLP. So generate more, own RE where you can. Now this slide is a little bit complicated, so I'm going to take this step by step. But if we are unable to actually generate our own electricity, what about the power that you buy from CLP? What are we going to do to try and see if we can help you reduce the carbon content of that power? Now, actually looking back a bit, and if you look at the left-hand bar on the chart, you will see that the carbon intensity of CLP's electricity supply has already fallen significantly over the last 15 years. So in 2005, it's 0.52 kilograms of CO2 per kilowatt hour. Last year, it had dropped to 0.37. Now, people ask me, what is the future carbon footprint going to be for CLP's electricity supply? Now, what I'm going to do here is take some numbers published by government in the Climate Action Plan 2050. You will see in there that by 2035, government have set for the power companies a target of between 60 and 70% of the energy supplied coming from zero carbon sources. Government has also said that by 2035, it wants the electricity companies to cease using coal for generation on a daily basis. So that means 60 to 70% is zero carbon. The balance is likely to be natural gas. Now for natural gas, very roughly, we could work on an emission factor of 0.4 kilogram CO2 per kilowatt hour. So if you do the maths and you work on 60 or 70% being zero and 30 or 40% being 0.4, you'll be able to work out for yourselves that the carbon intensity of CLP's supply, assuming we meet government's target, and I think we can, will be between 0.12 and 0.16 kilogram of CO2 per kilowatt hour. So between 2020 and 2035, that means the carbon intensity of my supply will fall by 2/3. And then in 2050, as we've already heard this afternoon, government's target is very clear, which is it will be zero. So CLP fully intends to support that. So I think for new buildings, we need to focus on building them as best we can. But the simple fact is that the vast majority of buildings likely to be standing in 2035 have already been built. So it'll be probably more economic and more practical to work with us to help decarbonize the supply side. Notwithstanding, more efficient appliances and user behavior are still going to be important. So I hope that's clear. That's a look ahead over the next 15 years to the carbon intensity of our supply, around 2/3 drop. For what you can't reduce or replace, you can offset. Now we have available renewable energy certificates from CLP. Hong Kong Electric also does the same. And they are a really important initiative en route to and for the 2050 carbon neutrality goal. So it may be impossible at this stage to reduce all your emissions from the building, but by purchasing renewable energy certificates, you can help support local regeneration here in Hong Kong. It's local renewable energy, it's from recognizable and identifiable sources, and it is internationally recognized and certified. So RE100 CDP, they are accrediting our RECs. So when it comes to the end of the year on your ESG, if you're not quite there for this year's target, please talk to CLP and we'll see if we can help you out with renewable energy certificates. So I want to summarize, and I'll be as quick as I can because I know that other speakers are yet to come. So the way forward really from CLP's perspective, reduce. So energy efficiency is key, replace higher carbon end use applications and energy suppliers with lower carbon versions, and then offset for your remaining your emissions. You can support local RE with those renewable electricity certificates. So in summary, reduce, replace, and offset. And CLP, of course, has been supporting a better built environment for 120 years and looks forward to doing the same for the next 120 years. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next, may I invite Mr. Jonathan Chiu, President of Schneider Electric Hong Kong Limited, to share with us the importance of accelerating digitalization in buildings on our journey to net zero. Mr. Chiu, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Chiu, the president of Schneider Electric Hong Kong. So first of all, I would like to thank Invest Hong Kong and BEC for inviting me to speak in this forum. Today, I would like to share with you how we can leverage technology and accelerate digitization to decarbonize building. We all know that building generate a lot of carbons. If we look at some numbers here, we find that there are actually a lot of waste. At the same time, it also means that there are a lot of opportunity we can do better to improve the situations. So let's look at some number here. We see that 40% of the world emissions actually come from buildings, and 11% come from building materials, and 10% of building materials go to waste. And 30% of construction costs is due to rework because of inaccurate design or because of lack of project coordinations. And finally, we also see that 90% of construction projects with cost overrun. So what does it mean? It means that there are not a potential that we can improve the situation. And as a building stakeholder, I think we need to join hands to improve the situation and also to react proactively to the call for actions. If we zoom in Hong Kong, buildings deserve even stronger attentions because buildings account for 90% of total electricity consumption in Hong Kong, or 60% of total CO2 generated. So this is very high numbers compared with other parts of the world. And with a view to drive to achieve the carbon neutrality by 2050, I think the Hong Kong government has set rigorous interim decarbonization target by 2035. For example, the target is to reduce 50% of carbon emissions by 2035, and at the same time to reduce 15% of reductions of commercial building electricity consumptions. Another opportunity here is about renewable energy. In 2018, the renewable energy usage in Hong Kong is less than 1% of total electricity consumptions. But between now and 2035, we see a lot of potential because the renewable potential in Hong Kong will reach 3 to 4% by 2035. So in fact, if you look at the complete building and construction industry, we see it is a bit lagging because the construction industry has seen the least amount of efficiency gain over the last 16 years. This is the global figures. If we compare with other sectors, agricultural, wholesale and retail and manufacturing, the construction industry is actually very much lagging behind. So there's something we need to do to improve the situations. In fact, according to McKinsey, in the building sector, actually today there are less than 5% of digital penetrations in that sectors. And building industry ran 21st out of 22 industry on digitizations. So this means that there's a massive opportunity to inject digitization in the building sectors to improve the efficiency and also to make it more sustainable. Now, if we look at the cycle, the end-to-end cycle, we see that there are some challenges in sustainability in the building and construction industry. There are many concerns here. In fact, the building industry now in total generates 40% or 20 gigatons of global energy-related greenhouse gas emission every year. So many people think that the emission actually come from the operate and maintains, but it's not true. If you look at the entire cycle, actually 25% of wages actually happen in the design and build, and 75% of emissions happen in the operate and maintain. So if we look at the numbers, what does it mean? 20 gigatons is actually the emission is equivalent to 29 million round trip from London to Los Angeles at full capacity. So obviously, I think there's an urgent need for us to improve the situation, to digitize the building sectors from end to end, design, build, operate, and maintain. Now, if we look at the opportunities, we know that there are some opportunity here in the building life cycle, but I think that the key factor is about the mindset change. We have to adopt a digital mindset. For example, cloud first, because today 95% or 95.5% of data in the industry actually go unused. So I think there's a lot of ways here. So we need to embrace cloud technology. We need to draw intelligence from the data we collected. And this is, I think, this number one. Second is about the mobility first, because today everyone wants remote operations. We want to access the data everywhere, anytime. And AI first, the system should be able to learn, adapt, and provide actionable insight. So I think we need to have this digital mindset. And this is very important because I think it allows all the stakeholders, including the engineer, contractors, developers, to unlock the high dimensions of thinking empowered by AI. So the good news is that I think there are two major trends today that open the door for more opportunities. The first is digitizations. So with the adoptions of more big data, AI, artificial intelligence, and also the cloud technology today, I think we can connect everything inside the buildings, and we can also draw all the data to the cloud to extract the intelligence from there. Electrification is another major trend that can open the door for more opportunities. Today, I think the world is using more electrifications because electricity is relatively greener and more efficient compared with other sources of energy. You can see that we use more in the electrical vehicle, in the water heater, and all this suggests that electricity is a better source of energy compared with combustion, fuel combustion types of energies. And we see there's a change here happening, and this all digital and all electric world actually give building the structure they need to overcome all this challenge we discussed before. So at Schneider Electric, our vision for building of the future in this all digital and all electric world actually focus on 4 key principles. The first is sustainability, sustainable. The building should be equipped with flexible energy access and vary with the electricity source. And secondly, I think resilience is very important. The building should recover quickly and bounce back. And it has to be hyper efficient, using real-time data and seamless control by end-to-end digital platform. And it has to be people-centric because the building has to be designed for people, to be responsive to people and allow a safe and healthy environment for the people that exceeds their expectations. And we see that there are numbers of key enablers here. For example, in the sustainability, we need to maximize electrifications because electricity is cleaner and more efficient. And we need to adopt active energy management solutions. We need to use more renewable energy to achieve this net zero emissions. And secondly, in the resilient, we need more remote operations, enhanced quality, power quality or reliability. And also we need more flexible buildings, stronger cybersecurity. And then in the hyper efficiency, it's important that we need to have a better decision on the space usage, space resources, asset efficiency, people needs, and also energy costs. And last but not least, for the people centricity, we need safer building, healthier building with better collaboration and productivity. So this summarizes our vision for the building of the future. So we believe that a more efficient and net zero future is possible with software, but we have to do this end to end, meaning that we should cover design, build into operation and maintain. So this is an end-to-end cycle that we cannot miss. So for example, I think today technology already exists. There's different software solutions for electrical design. There are dedicated solutions for construction management, and there are software solutions also for business and asset optimizations. So we should have this software solution covering this end-to-end cycle, connected the dots, and also enable more efficiency and intelligence from these buildings. So let's look at this different stage. The first one is design stage. I think in the design stage, very clear, our objective is to have a better accuracy while real-world simulations. I think that's very important because if you look at the numbers, we actually see a lot of opportunities in the design stage to improve the operational efficiency. So this is number one. And potentially, if we leverage the technology well in the design stage, potentially we will see 7 to 10% cost saving from following digitally driven best practice. I think this is very important. And last but not least, with the mass deployment of BEAM solutions, BEAM technology, actually we expect to see 15 to 25% efficiency gains by 2025. And if you look at the second stage, the build stage, the objective is to connect all the stakeholders through a cloud-based platform, cloud-based solutions. And in fact, in the build stage, we see huge potential here. If you look at the number, 95.5% of data goes uncaptured in the construction and engineering industry. So we have the data, but we are not using that correctly, and we are not even look at the data, what we can draw from the data. And secondly, I think only 8% of industry executive report using integrated project management software. So this percentage is very small. And also for 35% of time, the industry spends on non-optimal activities today, meaning that people spend time on rework, correcting the mistake, and also to look for some data. So it's not very efficient today in the build stage. So I think that our vision, our mission is to connect all stakeholders using the cloud-based platform. So one example is about the 60 BEAM, which actually connect the process. We connect the costing, scheduling, and also the construction management, and it provides better visibility and transparency in the construction process. It connects people, process, and data together for us to make better decisions and to be smarter in the building stage. And the last stage is about operate and maintain. I think the key word here is to make sure that we have the deep domain expertise across all systems. I think in the building, it's very complicated. We have mechanical, we have electrical, we have fire, we have security system. So I think it's very important that we have a centralized platform where we can have, for example, power monitoring, power quality monitoring. We can optimize the chiller, the HVAC system. We can connect the security system. We can enhance the workplace efficiency, workspace management of all the area. I think that is very important. And we see that there are potential to have 2.5% annual drop, annual saving in energy intensity. And also, I think that the situation right now is pretty urgent. So according to some survey, if we don't do anything right now, we will see 40 times more energy consumed by 2100. So I think the situation is pretty critical, and we need an urgency and also the collaboration of all the stakeholders in the industry. So in the last part of my presentation, I would like to share with you one case study. So this is a building in our headquarters in Renewable, France. So this is one of the net zero buildings in the world, one of the most efficient building with good score in the LEED Platinum 103 points. So what are the recipe or what are the solutions we use in these projects? First of all, I think it's all electric and microgrid ready buildings. So we install a lot of green energy sources. For example, we have the wind turbines, we have the solar panel, and also we have the energy storage system on site. So this enables that we power the buildings in a very efficient way, making use of all the renewable energy. And also we highly digitize the project in the design build stage. We use BEAM modeling and energy simulations, for example. And also that we also have the real-time communication supporting energy monitoring, security, flexible workspace management, and occupant services. So I think this is, in this project, we adopt and leverage a lot of different software solutions from end to end. For example, we have a software dedicated to the workplace management. We have a software to help us to manage the building control. We have the power energy monitoring system. We have the enterprise energy management software, and last but not least, the energy and smart grid management software. So I think there's a key point here is about the data. So this is a very important key success factor if to have the data. So in this project, we actually install a lot of sensors. So we collect a lot of data and extract the data to the cloud, which allow us to draw intelligence, to draw meaningful insight from the cloud platform. So finally, we deliver these projects with 10 times more efficient. This building is 10 times more efficient than FH building in Europe. I think it's one of the good example where we leverage the digital and electricity in these buildings. And it's a carbon and energy neutral. As mentioned before, that is a platinum LEED 103 points. And because we use quite a lot of renewable energies in these buildings, including solar and wind turbines, so it allows us to generate 970 megawatt hours per year from this building using the renewable source of energy. And also we highly digitize the building, a lot of software technologies for the space and meeting room management to increase safety and efficiency. And also with real-time occupants adjusted energy consumptions. And last but not least, I think it's very important that the building is not only self-sufficient, but it also has spare capacity to supply energy with the neighboring buildings and in the city of Renewable. So it's not only a net zero building, it's a net negative building. So what are the key takeaway of these cases? I think first one, we have to define what the success look like. I think it's very important that we have the carbon strategy in mind. So whether we want to use renewable energy, whether we want to use offsetting. So I think that's very important, and we have to set target. Another key takeaway is that we have to deploy the program, leveraging a lot of different software solutions, draft the end-to-end cycle of your buildings. Remember that we talk about the design, we talk about the build, operate and maintain. So these are the end-to-end cycle that we have to be covering. And third, we need to maintain the result, sustain the result by actively measuring, monitoring and reporting. And we need to pursue green certification for adding building value to investor and consumer. And last but not least, I think it's very important that collaboration is the key. So we need collaboration and engagement with all the key stakeholders, including architects, design consultants, and also contractors. So the future starts now, and I urge you to join us on this net zero journey. So I stop here, and I would like to finish my presentation by sharing with you a short video of this net zero building, the intensity. Thank you very much.
We know that changing the trajectory of climate change starts with today's buildings. They must become more digital, more electric, and powered by renewable energies with end-to-end solutions for all life cycle stages. At Schneider Electric, we pledge to become net carbon zero by 2030. In Grenoble, France, Intensity, our newest building of the future, is a great example of this vision. We consolidated 13 sites into 4 to reduce our energy footprint, create smart buildings that support innovation, and prioritize the well-being of 5,000 Schneider employees. With 4,000 square meters of photovoltaic panels, 2 wind turbines, and on-site energy storage, Intensity generates 970 megawatt-hours of energy per year and uses 10 times less energy than average European buildings. Through a unique microgrid partnership, this energy is also shared with neighboring buildings and the city of Grenoble. Schneider's IoT-enabled EcoStruxure solutions provide an end-to-end digital architecture that captures 60,000 data points every 10 minutes, and sensors act to automatically reduce energy use in unoccupied spaces. This allows Intensity to learn and adapt to its environments, enabling autonomous and proactive operation and maintenance and increased efficiency. Finally, Intensity's employees enjoy open, shared workspaces equipped with flexible solutions for new ways of working, along with optimized air quality, temperature, lighting, and more. With innovation at its core, Intensity represents our vision of the new era of an all-digital, all-electric world.
Thank you, Mr. Chiu. Now, let's watch a short video clip prepared by the government before I invite our next speakers.
Global warming results in extreme weather. These are not movie scenarios. High carbon emissions caused by human activity lead to global warming and unprecedented extreme weather. Slow down global warming and achieve carbon neutrality.
Today, we are very honored to have Secretary for the Environment, Mr. K.S. Wong, to give us a keynote speech on Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan 2050. Secretary Wong, please.
Good afternoon, Adam, Charles, speakers. Thank you, BEC and Invest Hong Kong to organize this series of events to publicize Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan 2050 and also involving different stakeholders to talk about how to implement it in a smarter way. Thank you. Today, the topic is on energy saving and green buildings. It's, as mentioned by other speakers, it's one of the key areas within the blueprint. This slide shows that the Climate Action Plan 2050 has a structure, sharing with you about what are the challenges, opportunities, strategies, and there are 4 key action areas. That is how to go towards net zero electricity generation. Second, energy saving and green building. That is the topic today. Third is about green transport. Last but not least, about waste reduction. This slide shows the pathway of Hong Kong. In 2014, we reached the peak carbon emissions. At that time, the per capita carbon emissions in Hong Kong was 6.2 tons per year. And up to 2020, reduced it to 4.5 tons per person per year. And we set a new target by 2035 to reduce the total carbon emissions by half, using 2005 as the base year, and then achieve carbon neutral before 2050. It's challenging, but we have to do that. And in the process towards carbon neutrality, we have to review and also look forward. As mentioned by other speakers, we invest a lot on decarbonization and adaptation in the past decade or so. And also, for instance, the 2 power companies also invest a lot on decarbonization projects. We are phasing out coal. By now, the coal portion for power generation has been reduced to some 20%, much lower than the previous few years. It was around 50%. We are also working on energy saving and green buildings. We launched Hong Kong's first energy saving plan for Hong Kong's built environment 2015 to 2025 plus. In the past 5 years, for instance, that we reduced the total electricity consumption by around 4.7% in the past 5 years. We also launched the 4T partnership scheme. 4T stand for target, timeline, transparency, together. The government and the key players in town, mostly managing the commercial buildings and institutional buildings, we asked them to set the target to save electricity. The government set example. In the past 5 years, we saved 7.8% of the building's electricity consumption. And the 40 partners saved around 5% in the past 5 years. As mentioned by our speaker, we're going to electrify the vehicles so that we can significantly reduce the total carbon footprint of Hong Kong. And we are promoting the popularization of electric vehicles. We are getting pretty good results. The latest figure is that 1 out of every 5 newly registered private cars was EV, one of the 3 top most highest ratio in the world. This slide has been shown by other speakers. I just repeat that. It's important to decarbonize the electricity generation. At the same time, 90% of the power are consumed in buildings. So energy saving is important. And I would like to highlight that why it's important. Because for the whole process of decarbonization, it comes at a price. And the price could be significant because we have to invest in the new energy, power generations, and other infrastructures. That is not easy, and it could be costly. So everyone, including the whole society, your company, your family, and individuals have to find a way to go towards quality living, at the same time, to make the price affordable for you and for the whole society. And one of the key strategies is to save energy or to use energy effectively and efficiently so that you can maintain quality living, function, at the same time to make the transformation affordable. This pie chart shows where are the electricity consumed, mostly in Hong Kong's case, in commercial buildings, and a significant portion at home. So we have to understand that and to consider how we can promote energy saving and also improve energy efficiency that can help to reduce the cost of transformation in the process. Here I would like to share with you 6 key areas that the government is going to work on or working on harder. And my colleague Raymond would elaborate more in detail. He represents the EMSD, Electrical and Mechanical Services Department. Firstly, is to tighten the energy saving targets. As mentioned in our Climate Action Plan 2050, we set a new target on all commercial buildings in town and also for domestic buildings up to 2035 and then beyond up to 2050. And we will also review the target every 5 years. Second is to enhance the energy efficiency performance of buildings. We have regulations. Raymond's team will work with the Environment Bureau to tighten the regulations to control the buildings, including existing buildings, and we will extend the coverage to other building types like the data centers. They are consuming significant amount of electricity. Third is to improve the energy efficiency of commercial and domestic buildings. For instance, we will review the overall thermal transfer value, OTTV, regularly, and also for domestic building, the RTTV, that is residential buildings thermal transfer value. Fourth is we will expand the district cooling system. Vincent mentioned about the district cooling systems that I set the policy in the last day of government that it would be the backbone for all the new developed areas if the environment is conducive to its application. So we are going to expand its coverage and also to optimize the operation and the efficiency that would help to improve the energy saving. At the same time, it would help Hong Kong to cool the city. Due to urban island effect and global warming, we have to make our city more climate adaptive. Fifth is to promote greater use of energy management tools. I think our friends from Schneider mentioned about how to use smart ways to improve the operations. Here, I would like to highlight 2 more examples. One is the RCX, Ritual Commissioning. It's a smart way to tune the existing building so that we can use the energy more effectively to save energy, save money, and can get the payback period within a few years and to significantly reduce its energy consumption. And we are working with the 2 power companies, thank you, Jim, that we are working together to change all meters in town to become smart meters. By now, about 40% have been changed, and there will be probably 3 more years so that we can complete the 7-year cycle to completely change all the electricity meters. And we can better inform individuals and companies through the smart meters and also dovetail with relevant policies and initiatives so that we can further promote wider use of electricity in Hong Kong. 6 is to keep the mandatory energy efficiency labeling scheme bills. That is about the TV, fridge, washing machine, and now we're extending it to other home appliances using electricity and gas, and would tighten the regulations and expand the coverage so that we would enhance the home operators can save energy and save money. Looking forward, as mentioned in this year's policy address, we would like to work together to build a brighter future. This year, the Environment Bureau, together with the relevant bureaus, departments, launched a series of blueprints covering climate actions, air, EV popularization, waste blueprint. And I hope green buildings would not only help to save energy, but also to cover the other areas. And we also launched the Northern Metropolis Development Strategy that would be a showcase in Hong Kong to make the area more livable to support economy. At the same time, it will be a showcase of carbon neutral community. So looking forward, there are green opportunities, green economy. That I think that we mentioned that there are from DCS to the smart technologies that we can develop to make Hong Kong smarter and also support the green economy. Green finance, I think Charles mentioned that Hong Kong is a green finance center, and through that mechanism, we can get money on green building and also help other regions, including Greater Bay Area, to do in a similar way. We need innovation technology. As mentioned earlier, that for all new major development areas in Hong Kong, we aspire to make them carbon neutral. And most importantly, in all the process, money is important. We have to save money and also to assign reasonable budget so that we can implement our vision. So the Hong Kong SAR government, as announced in the recent policy address, we set aside 240 billion in the next 15 to 20 years to implement the 4 major decarbonisation strategies that cover net zero electricity generation, energy saving and green buildings, green transport, and waste reduction, and take forward most measures covering mitigation and climate adaptation. So I would like to conclude here. It's challenging, but we have to do that in a wise way and also to address the challenge about cost. It's important so that we can make Hong Kong zero carbon, more livable, and more sustainable. Let's work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Wong, for the comprehensive overview of the Climate Action Plan and the proposed government initiatives. Now, let's move on to the panel discussion that will focus on green buildings making Hong Kong a sustainable city. Again, if you have any questions for the speakers, please feel free to type your questions using the Q&A function. May I invite Mr. Andy Wong, Head of Innovation and Technology at Invest Hong Kong, to moderate the panel discussion and introduce our 3 panelists. Mr. Wong, over to you, please.
Thank you. So good afternoon to everyone, and also maybe good morning to those who joined from the Europe side. Today is very grateful to have 3 important speakers. Let me introduce one by one. So we start with Arthur Lam, who is the CEO and founder of Megawatt, which is a startup company who built about 3 years ago, do the IoT for the building energy saving system. And then we have Mr. Raymond Poon, very helpful, supportive, joining from EMSD. He is the Deputy Director of EMSD from Hong Kong government. And then we have Basilia Poon. She is the Basilia Poon, Basilia Wong, yes. She is from the China Cham. And then she looked after the service building, right? Service building service for the China Cham. I think today we have 3 different topics we want to discuss. The first one is about the vision that each one have in terms of the energy building saving. And then the second part is to explain a little bit more about the example of the projects that you have been rolled out in order to help the building saving, energy saving. And then the third one is about more looking forward in terms of what kind of a project or the technology you think is important in order to help us to achieve the carbon neutralities. Maybe I start with the first question with Arthur to talk about how you make use of your IoT system, as well as you have a cloud-based kind of building OS in order to help the energy saving. So maybe I'll have you to talk about that, to explain to us about this mission you have for the company.
Great, thank you. So thank you very much. My name is Arthur. I'm co-founder and CEO of Megawatt. So Megawatt, we provide a cloud-based solution with AI-assisted platform that can help buildings to go through the digital transformation journey with a focus on decarbonization and operational resilience. So I think the Hong Kong government did a very good job in promoting climate change action plan. Everyone had the same slide on the left side. So I'm not going to talk about that. So on the right side, actually, Hong Kong Stock Exchange actually announced on November 5th that no longer landlord has to disclose their GHG emissions. They're encouraged that they should also look at the tenant side as well. They also have to disclose their given investment and also the impact and the carbon offset data. So what we do is we help to provide a digital solution, How come not to do three things? To reduce, report, and offset. Next slide, please. So the problem that we have, we're a startup. That's why we're here to disrupt something or to actually change efficiency. So if smart buildings and sustainability is so great, why is it so hard? Why buildings cannot be smart tomorrow? Okay, so unfortunately, the buildings that were built about 20, 30 years ago, they're run on disparate systems, right? Data actually doesn't make sense, or they actually don't have data to begin with. And even that, it's hard to find data scientists just to look at data on a monthly basis or on a daily basis. So it doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, with the cloud, before the cloud, infrastructure is expensive, and then sensor expensive, it actually made this investment very unjustifiable. So what we did was, we actually want to make a solution that can change this industry. So 90% of the people agree that digital solution can actually help to achieve decarbonization goals. So what we did was Megawatt is quite simple. I'm sure most of the people use Facebook or some sort of social media. If they can actually use this solution to manage their lifestyle, if a cell phone, they have an OS, why about a building? Okay, so next slide, please. So we've actually built a cloud-based solution that's designed to collect three types of different information. Number one is building data. Okay, for example, BMS information, IoT robots, or schematic diagrams. The second information is human-generated data, because people right now, they're still managing the buildings. Okay, frontline services, maintenance, engineering, securities, all these should generate a lot of data about buildings. The third one is domain knowledge, because running buildings, it has a lot of engineering principles. So it's not that, okay, I have an AI this, and then I should not forget about all these engineering principles, not like that. So we'll combine all these three different genres of data. We use IoT, big data, AI to actually do building automations within one system to help buildings to be effective and sustainable. And we focus a lot in Hong Kong in retro commissioning. Okay, we use our proprietary AI model to actually do analysis and to control buildings on their HVAC system. In general, we save about 10% on their share of plant energy. Next slide, please. So fortunately, Hong Kong is very responsive to a solution. In the last 3 years, we've been able to deploy our system at some of the major developers in Hong Kong. In the last few years, in Hong Kong and Indonesia, we've deployed a system over 130 buildings, managing over 55 million square feet. And on a yearly basis, we're managing 340 million kilowatt hour. And luckily, right, with the trust, with the collaboration of the team, we've saved about $20 million of savings, which is equivalent about 12,000 tons of CO2. And we have about 1,500 people using our platform to manage the building on a day-to-day basis. So please join us, and we'll hope that we could help developers, offices, different stakeholders to embark on this digital transformation and decarbonization journey. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, Alpha. So you're doing very well. So maybe I switch it on to Basilia. So as you from the China Camp, right? So which is one of the largest property developer and also the building management company in Hong Kong. And I just learned from you that you just finished celebrating your 60th anniversary, right? So given that background, can you tell us more about how is your vision in terms of the energy saving in this aspect?
Okay, well, thank you, Invest Hong Kong and BEC, to let us have the opportunity to share our vision of sustainability of our group. Right, we established in 1960. Telecom Group is a private property developer, not listed, right? And our real estate portfolio includes residential buildings, commercial industrial buildings, hotels, shopping malls, and cinema. We celebrated our 60th anniversary in 2020, and our branding, well, we actually have a new logo for the 60th anniversary. We made commitment to achieving sustainability by harmonizing our triple bottom line: people, prosperity, and planet. People is actually our major concern. We therefore design buildings for health and well-being as well as sustainability. Some of our developments are designed as age-friendly as well to cope with the growth of aging population in Hong Kong. And for prosperity, we definitely need to be financially sustainable for our operation, right? And nevertheless, we are making every endeavor to build ideal homes to people. And for planet, we have set the carbon reduction target called CCG 3050+. That is to reduce 51.8% of carbon emission by the year of 2030. from baseline year of 2020. Sounds a bit aggressive, but it's achievable with joint hands of all our colleagues of the group. And all departments of the group shall work together on it. We have also developed our Sustainable Key Performance Index according to triple bottom line, CCG carbon reduction targets, and UN SDG, so that all departments know exactly what they need to do to achieve the group's vision. Regular meetings will be held with all departments to ensure progress is in order. And our first sustainability report 2019 to 2020 was issued in 2021. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So maybe I switch on to Raymond. So we have this startup company, we have the property developer, and then we want to hear from the government side. And given that EMSD have two roles, as far as I understand, one is about the regulator, playing as a regulator, regulate the safety of electrical and mechanical engineering, and also to promote the energy saving and conservation. And then you have another role, which is helping the government department or public utility to use the energy equipment more efficient, for example. So can you share a bit more about how can, from the EMSD perspective, how to support the climate action plan? Thank you.
Okay. As you can see, I also have the same slide. As Secretary Wong and many speakers mentioned that because the buildings in Hong Kong account for 90% of the electricity consumption, and also 60% of the carbon emission in Hong Kong is for generation of electricity for the buildings. So we have to take more proactive actions and set targets for energy saving, energy conservation to achieve the carbon neutrality target. And EMSD enforces two ordinances, which are important regulatory tools for achieving the targets for buildings. One is the mandatory energy efficiency labeling scheme for residential buildings, and also the building energy efficiency ordinance for commercial buildings. I think I will briefly introduce two ordinances, how can help us to achieve the carbon neutrality targets. And for the mandatory energy efficiency labeling scheme, which is for domestic appliances, I think many people learn about that when you purchase electrical appliances from shops, you can see the energy labels there. And we set a very tight grading standard for the highest performance grade 1 appliances. And we will also review the standards from time to time, depending on the technology advancement, the change of product mix in the market. We will tighten the grade from time to time. And we also will expand the scope to cover other electrical and gas appliances, so that more appliances can achieve better energy performance in residential buildings. Actually, we are now considering to expand the scope to non-domestic sector. For example, for commercial buildings, for their office equipment, such as the photocopiers, computers, printers, etc. And sharing from experience from some overseas countries, we are also considering to set a minimum energy performance standard for appliances. That is to say, to ban the supply of poor energy performance appliances in Hong Kong. And actually, we are also exploring to cover electric vehicles by our voluntary scheme because of the future popularization of EVs in Hong Kong. And actually, we are launching the phase 4 of the labeling scheme to cover LED lighting, the gas appliances. And we foresee when the phase 4 labeling scheme put into effect, it will save about 160 million kilowatt hour per year. That's a lot of saving. And with for residential buildings, we also have the building energy code for the communal lobby areas of residential buildings. And with all the tools I mentioned, and we will work together to reduce the electricity consumption in residential buildings towards to the 20 to 30% saving before year 2050. And also for the commercial buildings, the building energy efficiency ordinance covers the central building services installations, such as the air conditioning, electrical lighting, lift and escalators in buildings. We require new buildings or existing buildings undergoing major retrofitting work to comply with the building energy code that with the minimum energy performance standard and requirements. Of course, we welcome developers and building owners to outperform the requirement in the ordinance. But that is a very important and effective tool to ensure the energy performance of commercial buildings. And in future, actually, we are considering the scope to cover more high energy consumption buildings. For example, the data centers mentioned by Secretary Wong, and also we are considering hotels, hospitals, etc. And we are also considering to require buildings to conduct energy audits more frequently. And maybe we may also require building owners to implement some energy management opportunities identified from the audits. So with this, we are also working together with the stakeholders to review the requirements every 3 years for the ordinance, so that we will gradually reduce the energy consumption, electricity consumption in the commercial buildings towards the target of reducing 30 to 40% electricity consumption by year 2050. And last but I must mention, besides the two ordinances, the government also lead by example. We also set targets for government buildings and infrastructures, and we also install renewable energy systems in government premises.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So I think we move on to the next topic. Is about some actual examples, right? Maybe I'll start with Alpha again. I see a lot of logos in your last slide with different customers you have. So there must be a lot of lesson learned or challenge that you've been facing. Can you just share a little bit about some challenge and how you overcome those challenges?
Sure. I think there's a slide that's, so I think this rule is 80-20% rule also apply. I think implementing smart building strategies or actual technology is not that difficult. Data and technical issues contribute to 20% of the problems. But I think, doing this for a couple of years, I think 80% of the problems come from people. Okay, and that's lack of leadership, lack of consistency, and also grit. Right. So I would say that, interest and motivation has to be aligned from top to bottom, left and right. So for that, I've been doing energy efficiency for buildings for over decades now. And usually the lead time, it takes about, if it's fast, it's 1 year. If it's slow, it could be 3 years. And then the management change, and then you just start over again. Okay. So it takes a lot of leadership. On the right side, there's a photo of actually China Chem. I actually asked her approval. Is it? She's on the right side, second to right, look at the slide. So it's a great example of how leadership can actually change management. Right? So when we approach the CEO, Mr. Donald Choi, he actually got everyone on senior executive level on the same table, looking at one idea. How costly would that be just with an idea, right? So I think it takes a lot of leadership and consistency, and I really thank you for that. Record-breaking email, pitch, contract signed within 2 months. Actually, China Chem was one of the developer actually adopted our technology. And then we're very happy to say that Nina Tower is a client for over 2 years now. And we have saved over 1.2 million kilowatt hour in the last 2 years. So we're implementing all these different solutions with other buildings as well. So, and then leadership is very important. And also interest and motivation for working level also very important, because before they didn't have to save energy, before making sure equipment works, but now everyone has the same target, so everything has to be in line. So quick summary, people change business.
I'm very good to hear that I invite the right person.
Yes,
developer to be here.
I'm glad we took a photo.
We save a lot of energy.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I move on to Priscilla. So
yes.
We talked earlier. You mentioned about something called 30-50. So can you explain a little bit more about your company, what it means by 30-50, and in terms of the carbon neutralization?
Okay. We have this 30-50 plus because we have joined the SBT, the science-based targets in 2021. What's SBT? SBT helps limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels by providing us a clearly defined path to reduce carbon emissions in line with the Paris Agreement goals. And we're the third local developer to make this SBT commitment. And we have this China Carbon Reduction Roadmap, CCG 3050 plus, and in December 2021 just launched because we just got approved everything, right? And this is to reduce 51.8% of the carbon emissions of the group in 2030 as compared with the baseline of 2020. So this is pretty aggressive, but as I said before, it's achievable. Next slide, please. Yeah. And we have sustainable procurement guidelines. And I would like to just take the project department ones just to share with all of you. And our project department sustainable procurement guideline was developed in 2020. And the sustainable requirements are for both green designs of projects and also during construction. These requirements will be bound in the contract documents, and we aim to achieve the second highest, at least the second highest rating of BEAM Plus and WELL certification in all our new major projects. We target to achieve at least 12% savings against the local building energy code, so we are working hard to get better, right? Okay, yeah. And next slide, please. And let me just give some example on our green procurement guidelines. So green designs in the passive side, and we adopt the natural ventilation and high performance envelope and adoption of daylights and low e-glazing. For active system, we select energy efficient devices like LED lighting, high COPAC system, and VST pumps, etc. And also we select good energy label appliances for the grade 1. And we install some motion or photo sensors for lightings. And during construction, we adopt the CIC carbon assessment tool and zero use of diesel generator, adoption of BIM and up to 7D actually, and energy label appliances for site office, and also adoption of low GWP installation for site office. Next slide, please. Yeah. And so we also have some energy saving measures in existing buildings, like chiller replacement, modernization of HVAC systems, retro commissioning, replacement or modernization of lifts, replacement of existing lighting with LED lightings, and also installation of motion or photo sensors for lightings, and conduct feasibility study for installation of RE system as well. Next slide, please. Yeah. All right, that's it.
Yeah, maybe I'll move on to the Raymond. You mentioned about lead by example for the government. So that means that you must have some target and also you want to achieve it. Can you share some statistics that you have?
So I will go through this government lead as examples slide quickly. As you can see, actually, we set targets for government buildings to save energy back to 2003, and we set 5-year targets. And as you can see, the third 5-year targets from 2015 to 2020. We also set the target to reduce electricity consumption for 5% for the 5 years, but actually the final results is 7.8%. So we also outperform our target. And from 2020 to 2025, we set a new green energy target of 6%, which will cover government buildings and also government infrastructures. And for this 6%, we also encourage the installation of renewable energy systems, which can also be counted under the 6% target. And how we can achieve these 6% target? Briefly, we will achieve around 4 to 5% by carrying out energy saving retrofitting projects for government buildings and infrastructures. We will conduct energy audits and retro commissioning, and we will also apply innovation and technology applications for energy saving. And another 1 to 2% will be achieved by installation of renewable energy systems in government premises. And in the slide, you can see one example. We replaced the 20-year-old chiller in the Queensway government office. The project was just completed earlier this year, and we have measured the energy performance, and we estimate the energy saving. It will be up to 32.8% as compared with the old chiller. That's a very brief introduction of how we lead as example.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we're running out of time, so maybe I'll try to move it a little bit quicker. So Arthur, you mentioned that there's some challenges, right? So also some data issue that you mentioned earlier to me. So can you share a little bit about additional challenge that you have in order to meet your target?
Sure. I think very high level summary. It's so I think when you look about reduction, right, having the baseline is actually very important. What I see in the industry is different at different baselines, different developers, different baseline. But I'm very glad that the government announced that in the climate action plan that the baseline is 2015. So at least we know what we're working towards. Even though that's a baseline, it doesn't mean that it's the only baseline. So I think that the key part is understand what is your baseline. And then you have a target to meet, okay? And the second one is actually the data quality and the transparency. Because right now, there's a lot of information, just great savings, reductions are self-declared, right? Is it going to be regulations that people have to be audited, like a financial report that has to be audited by Big Four or other accounting companies? Is there going to be a requirement that the energy or GHG emission also has to be audited as well? Okay, so data transparency and the quality of data, I see as a big improvement work for the industry in the next coming 5 to 10 years.
Okay, thank you. So I know there's some audience which is, from the online, they are the technology vendors, right? So if in order for them to be part of the carbon neutralization exercise, so from the developer perspective, how can you encourage the new innovation technology to join to participate in your projects?
Right.
Can you share a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, sure. And I think can I just talk about what we have adopted first, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and actually we have adopted the CIC carbon assessment tool since 2019 for all the major projects, right? The tool is actually for collecting the environmental data and creating database for benchmarking to monitor the energy consumption from construction sites. And also we have made use of the battery energy storage system to replace the traditional diesel generator. This is much more environmental friendly system. And also the data can be monitored in the real time through the internet platform. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, also we are the first local developer pioneering in adopting BIM, Novate platform, and also Oracle Architect simultaneous in construction projects, which digitize all major workflows of project life cycle management to enhance our project productivity and also site operational efficiency. And we are the really first private developer to adopt the MIC, the modular integrated construction in our developments, which reduce construction carbon emission and also construction waste, and also the site safety as well. And also we have adopted the AIoT building operating system to track the energy consumption and monitor environmental parameter. The data collected is stored in cloud database for machine learning and the big data analytics that create energy efficient solutions that's actually collaborating with megawatts. Right, yeah. And so how can solutions provider can, probably give us some service? And we'll firstly get the technical information from them, and ideally with job reference.
Right.
And if the technology is possibly suitable, the provider will be invited to give us a detailed presentation. Then a pre-qualification will be carried out if the solution and organization are acceptable. And after successful pre-qualification, then the provider will be invited to submit quotation or tender when appropriate. That's how we do it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think we also want to hear from the government side. So I know that Raymond from the EMSD, you've been trying to match the solution vendor together with the wishes of different departments to use the technologies. And also that you have a what we call E&M portal. So can you explain a little bit more about this?
Can also introduce very quickly. It's very easy that we launched the portal in 2018 so that government departments, public organizations, or the E&M trade can put their wishes or service list onto the portal. You can see now we have 370 wishes put onto the portal. And also other I&T companies, startups, academia, or research institutes can propose their solutions onto the portal. And now we have over 800 solutions already put onto the portal. And we have matched over 130 projects on trial now. Actually, 80 of them has already been completed, and we put the report onto our portal for people's reference. And we also work hard to promote innovation and technology. I can quote two quick examples. First, we organize a lot of innovation and technology events. For example, actually today and tomorrow, we organize an I&T Day at the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. Actually, I escaped from that event. And we also arrange a lot of seminars, symposiums. For example, last month we organized the Green INT Day jointly with the mainland. Actually, we have on-site, we have 200 participants because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But online, we have over 100,000 online participants. And another important thing you can see from the photo is we set up a lot of demonstration showcase places at our EMSD headquarters so that startups and technology companies can showcase their applications in real case so that our visitors can see how the innovation and technology can help them, say, for energy saving or energy performance improve.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's pretty time's up. And then I think I have to say thank you to three very important panelists to join us today. And sorry a little bit about the overrun, but I hope that the whole section today, you have learned a lot of key message from all the speakers and also for the panelists. And then this is closing the end of the year, and I wish everyone have a very good Christmas in the coming, and also good, very good in the coming next year. Thank you so much. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you to our speakers and moderator for the informative sharing. Also concludes the webinar. An event feedback questionnaire will be sent to you after this webinar. Please take a few moments to fill in the form. If you are interested to know more about future BEC events, please follow our social media channels. Thank you again for joining us today and have a wonderful evening.